Hey everyone, it's Jason. I'm getting ready to step out of town for a little bit, but I did say on Thursday's broadcast that I would re-review everything, and the prophecy specifically of Hank Kuhlman and Kim Clement, because there were some things in the back of my head that were sort of itching, and that if I came across anything, if I thought about anything interesting, I'd come on and let y'all know. Normally, I would have saved this maybe for a more detailed thing on maybe like Sunday so everyone could join. But like I said, I will be out of town, so I thought something more quick would be more appropriate. Plus, as you'll see in a second, I have some questions about Sunday. Um, I've got the link. I got links to two of the videos in the description. So if you want to go check out Hank Kuhlman's full teaching, you can, and the clip from Kim Clement. So the first thing I would update, or the first part of the update, is the 70 days. When I first listened to it, it sounded like it was saying 70 days from the election. But I went back and re-listened to it, and I think there's actually, I think you could argue it was from the 7th, which was the day that it was originally broadcast. He was saying from today. When he says that, or you could even argue from the day that Biden announced that he had the 270. So there's a little vagary there. If it's the first, that it was the day that Hank Kuhlman was speaking, then it would actually be this coming Sunday would be the end of that 70-day period. If it's, but you could push that as far as the counting of the electors just on the 6th. So it could be 70 days from that. So I'm going to give him some leeway on that. So that 70-day period could have actually ended, or actually could end on tomorrow, or it could end actually really in 3 months. The second thing, howdy, Rescue Mom and Hidden Existence. I see they've hopped on. This won't take too terribly long. Just a quick update before I go out of town. But the second thing was Kim Clement. He mentions in one of his prophecies, he said they will shout impeach, but it will not happen, and then a new Snowden will arise. It is, and most people thought of that as it was just the clamor for Trump's impeachment. Well, the thing is, he said impeached twice. Trump has technically been impeached by the House, but never convicted in the Senate. So they're impeachments, but they aren't. That's very much in line with what Clement had mentioned. But the fact that he said it twice indicates the two impeachments that we've seen. It's only after that that a new Snowden arises. As I've said many times on the show, the QAnon stuff and a lot of the stuff that's floating around right now, to me, it just feels like disinformation. It feels like nothing you should put faith into. But the idea that what Kim is talking about here is that there is someone that someone arises after the second impeachment, I think is really important here. This is not something that is happening before, but someone's going to show up, should be showing up very, very soon. Again, Kim never gives a timeline. That does do this exposure that people have been talking about for a long time now. Someone who can actually reveal a lot of the crimes that our government has committed by people on both sides. In fact, Kim calls out Democrats and Republicans, and I think that's where we are. As a nation, we have to get to that point of understanding that the parties are facades for this deeper state, this class of those, not just politicians. In many ways, politicians are the front show. It's rather the class of people who make their money off of the government. That includes lobbyists, that includes people working directly for the government, but then indirectly for the government as contractors, as those who make money off of the wars that we've been fighting pretty consistently over the last 40 years. So where do we stand? Well, as I've said, I stand with the prophets. I'm not saying anything is happening at any particular time. I'm kind of done with this whole thing until something actually happens. If by the end of March, none of these prophecies have sort of come to fulfillment, then I'll start calling everybody out because we were lied to. But again, I stand with them until there's reason not to. At this point, it actually reinforces the reason we need to be waiting a little bit longer. We had to see who everybody was. I find it interesting that there were 10 Republicans in the House that voted to impeach, like the 10 spies. Of the 12 that go into the promised land to spy it out, only 2, Caleb and Jacob, come out, or Joshua rather, Caleb and Joshua come out with a good report. They see the victory. The 10, they see the failure. In life, it is often far more about perspective than the actual reality. We don't do things because we're afraid of the fall. We're afraid of failure. We're afraid of the opposition we'll come against. Those who make a difference, those who better themselves, are the ones who look at those things and say, yeah, but that's nothing compared to the greatness and the glory that can come through victory. Oftentimes victory is won not by those who are the smartest or the fastest or the strongest, but rather those who believe in victory the longest. Now, ultimately here, am I talking about a political victory? No. I'm talking about a moral victory. I'm talking about the victory of rejecting the complacency that our system has sort of wanted us to have. We're not supposed to just sit there, vote people in, and just go about the rest of our day. We are supposed to take control of our local neighborhoods, our communities. We're supposed to be involved. You should know the name of everyone on your city council. You should know the name of your mayor, of your sheriff, everyone. You should be able to know what issues are going on and fighting for those issues in your community first. The problem is we've centralized so much power in the city of Washington that's what we're fighting over. We no longer allow everyone to live as they would like. Let's face it, those living in LA live a very different lifestyle than those living in, say, Kansas. The problem is everyone's fighting over how to tell everyone else to live their lives. Regardless of what happens, victory should come to us because we believe in it the longest and the hardest. We need to be fighting on the ground level, going to our city governments and then our county governments and our state governments, advocating for those things that will make it a better place. We need to be advocating for our cities and counties and states to have the power they're supposed to have, not to devolve that back to someone in Washington deciding how your roads should be built or where your tax dollars go. It should be your community deciding what's important to your community. Washington doesn't care about y'all. Washington cares about funneling money to their pet projects, which, by the way, their pet projects just means money for themselves and their friends. That's how this goes. That's how we get $30 trillion in debt, and our roads ain't any cleaner and less pothole filled than they were 40 years ago. Ultimately, regardless of whether Trump retains office or not, your behavior should be unchanged. Get to know your neighbors. Get to know the problems in your community. Figure out how to solve those problems with your community. Don't ask Washington for power and for help. Advocate for your friends and neighbors to go and vote, and advocate for the county and the state to have the power it's supposed to have. Let's decentralize this power. The problems in LA should be solved by the people in LA. They should be able to say, hey, these are the problems I have, and these are the ways we want to fix them. Because the problems that LA have is not the same problem that New York City has, which is not the same problem Chicago has, which is not the same problem Dallas has, which is not the same problem that Houston has, which is not the same problem that Waxahachie has or Topeka. There are thousands and thousands of small towns that don't have the same problems. No one solution will fix everything. Ultimately, We have to take responsibility for our communities and our own lives. We didn't get in this quagmire overnight, and we certainly aren't going to get out of it overnight. It's going to take the long, hard work of advocacy, making arguments, not on Facebook necessarily, but face to face. Arguing with people on Facebook, I'm going to be honest, I stopped doing it a couple of years ago because it's sort of like milking a bull. It's a lot of hard work, and you never get out of it what you want. We have to talk to people face to face. We have to be willing to have a conversation, make the right arguments. Most people aren't as far apart as we think. The majority of people in this nation want the same things. The problem is we have people whose money depends on conflict, trying to make it seem like the vast majority of Americans are far apart on these things. They're not. We just need the opportunity to actually talk to one another within our own communities and solve those problems. I live in Waxahachie, Texas. I don't know anything about problems or how to solve them in some state I've never even been to. They should be able and be given the ability to have that conversation. And we have to advocate for that. Right now, what we're all fighting over is who gets to run everything from Washington, D.C. And that's insane. I'll wrap up with this. If Trump retains office, what I'm talking about might actually be a lot easier. Will it be as easy with Joe Biden in office? Probably not. But that's irrelevant. Whether the prophets are right or not is irrelevant. The real action is, what do you do? How do you move forward? Regardless of who's in office, we have to stop being played as pawns. We have to stop assuming that we're just going to elect somebody and they're going to fix everything. We have the obligation to do the hard work of making this place better, because we're gardeners. The first job we were given as humans was to tend the garden. That is what we are. We have the obligation to try and make this place as good as we can. Is that our highest moral obligation? No, it isn't. It is to be ambassadors of Christ. It is to be the one to proclaim the coming of the kingdom. But that doesn't mean that we don't have other obligations as well. We are gardeners in a garden very in need of tending. It is time to stop thinking somebody else will do that job and do it ourselves. Like I said, peacefully, through activism, through making the right argument, face to face with people. Show them that you care, because you do. Show them that you have their best interest at heart, because you do. Don't argue on the internet. It's designed to create conflict. Talk to your actual neighbors, the people you actually know. Or actually get to know them first, then talk to them. There is no reason why we should be waiting for somebody else to save us in this. If we are kings and we are priests, then we should be the kings and the priests, and we should understand that we have that power. You are stronger and more powerful than you think. It's easy to look and say, but they have this. They have the political power. They have the military power. They have this. That's irrelevant. Entire empires are often changed by the words people use, far more than violence ever has. And even to a point, far more than even voting does. If you change the hearts and minds of the people in power, if you change the hearts and minds of the people who support things, the system changes by its very nature. There is no system greater than the hearts and minds of the people actually running it. If the hearts and minds of the people in office are corrupt, then the office is corrupt. The system is corrupt. But if we change the hearts and minds of the people in office, we change the hearts and minds of the people who are voting them into office, then the system can work for everyone, can bring justice for everyone. Your prayer should not be, Lord, fix this nation. It should be, Lord, show me how to do my part. Because let's be honest, what I can do, what you can do, these are two very different things. No one is greater than the other, just different. We should be playing our roles. Allow God to show us how we make this garden better. With that, y'all are always in my prayers, and I will see y'all probably on Thursday if I don't see you on Daniela's show on Sunday. Have a good one.